Truth Bombers Podcast.
Truth Bombers Podcast.
The group chat turned podcast with your hosts, Russ, Lockie, and BJ.
Boys, here we are. Oh, you're kidding me. You are absolutely kidding me.
Does he not like me at the moment?
Here we are having a good 10-minute, just bit of a chit chat, waiting for you to join. And then as soon as you join, old mate drops out. Phone charge issues. We'll wait for him to rejoin. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate.
How's your burger?
Oh, absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Burger with then a meal on the side is underrated.
The old side burger.
Yeah.
Do you get them to bring it out at the same time, or do you have one as an entree and then a main?
All out at the same time, get through the chicken and then eat the burger, finish with the salad.
Lovely. Russell, you're back.
You kicked me out.
I didn't kick you out.
I heard "Hey Clockers," and then I was out.
Mate, well, before we get started, Locke, you might realize that Russ is another episode in another room of the house. He's taken us on a bit of a journey over the last few weeks, but there's quite an amount of Essendon paraphernalia in the background there. And one of those pieces is like, is it signed, Russ, or is it just...
No, it's just the footy cards from 2020. No, sorry, from 2000.
What a year.
Mate,
Yeah.
Can you imagine, that's exactly what we need in the side. Peveril, McPhee, who else is on there?
Johnson brothers.
No, let's go through
Boyd, Lucas.
Ted Richards.
Your mate, Jason Johnson.
Oh, the Johnson brothers.
David Hill.
David Hill, Big C.
My man, Scotty Lucas.
David Hill, God, 2000 must have been like his rookie year.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, this is 2004. It says...
Not as good a team.
The year after we won our last final.
Matty Lloyd's in there. Bolton, Walsh, McPhee, Cupido.
He's
It's
tearing
a bit
up.
different here.
Good times. Little walk down memory lane. All right.
Dean Sullivan.
We've got to get him back down at the club. Boys, anyone else got a beverage, or is it just me cracking on
Tonight.
on the waters?
I got my Essendon cup.
I got a Pepsi Max, which is, I guess, almost just the Essendon.
Pepsi Max. This late in the day, it's not caffeine.
We'll be right. I think this is episode 22.
We're going to do the 50th.
Well, do you reckon what's if we did the math, are we still going this season? Are we finished the season by episode 50? 14 weeks away. 21. Ooh, that'd be good.
Well, we'll make the grand final, won't we? So there's a few more.
Are we going to finish when the Bombers season finishes, or are we going to continue to chat shit through the rest of the year?
See how devastated we are.
All right, lads. Thank you for joining me on a Thursday night. It's a late one tonight. Russ, any feedback on your COVID test, mate? You seem to be the token.
Still waiting.
Still waiting. Fingers crossed. So we can watch the game on Saturday.
Yeah, I'll be pretty flat if I can't watch the game with the boys.
Before we get into the ins and outs, a post was released today with a number of the 2022 restricted free agents that come up at the end of this year. Kyle Langford is on that list, and there have been some rumors flying around that Hawthorn are very interested in Kyle Langford. Another name on that list is James Sicily. So my first question without notice to the boys of the panel is, what would you need to consider for a swap between Langford and Sicily? Would it be a straight swap? Start with Lockie.
If we got 2 first rounders and Sicily, I think that would be fair.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. Well, I know, we've spoken, like, I could easily see this happening. Not the straight swap. They're definitely going to try and keep Sicily. I reckon a straight swap would probably come It's hard to say because Sicily has a lot of upside. We need someone down back that, we could help with a big sort of intercept mark and a little bit of leadership, I guess, down the back. Langers, I don't know, he's very important to us, but they say that Mitchell wants him to see him play in the midfield, and from all reports, that's all he's wanted to do since being drafted is to play in the midfield. So the lure to have midfield minutes could be enough of a lure to leave the Bombers.
Oh, this is for Langford, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Another name on that list is Alex Pearce at Fremantle. Would you consider trading Langford for Pearce?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And more so because it covers a need of ours. So Alex Pearce, big-bodied defender, that's sort of what we're screaming out for. Like maybe Reid can become that player, but I feel like Langford's role is easier to cover than, a big-bodied, tall down back.
Yeah, agreed.
Lance Franklin also on that list. Would you give him 1 year to play as a target keeper?
I've been thinking about that, and I've looked at most of the list to see who's available, who's not available, and you look at he's done 10th in the Coleman. He's kicked, tied for how many goals? He's not that far behind the blokes. I think it's like 20 goals or 19 goals for the season. He doesn't train. But if he wants to come back to Melbourne, I'd give him a game where you just sit him in the goal square and do what Cal Hooker did last year. Take the number one defender and, kick 30, 40 goals, a lazy 30, 40.
He's heavily managed, though. Like, our problem already is keeping, like, key players on the park. And if you had someone that had to be managed every 3 weeks, I think it adds to the woes more than, like, solves the problems. Unless you just, like, whenever you came up against a big boy defender, like, an Alex Pearce or what's his name at Brisbane, Harris Andrews or someone like that, really key back, that you just like kept him for those like games that you needed, to run that play. I don't know. Anyway, just a quick off the cuff. What are your thoughts? Let's get to it. Now, the last, I believe, 8 games between Essendon and Sydney have been decided by 10 points or less. We travel up to the SCG this week to versus Swans, who are coming off a loss to the Gold Coast, and we are coming off a win against the Hawks. Do you think, put us in a better position than maybe we were thinking we were this time last week, or is Sydney coming out super fired up after a loss they shouldn't have had with everything to prove against an easy beat Bombers?
Super fired up. Once they lost to Gold Coast, I was like, shit. They're going to come out like, guns blazing.
Yeah, I'm with you, Russ. They've lost to Suns and Brisbane the last 2 weeks. So I think they will have something to prove. But I'd like to think that we've turned a corner a little bit, and we're just about to get a bunch of players back, and the boys are actually hopefully have a bit of confidence going into this game. I think it actually should be a really good game.
It's also Heppel's 200th game, so I don't know how much that plays into it. Obviously, you want to win every game, but maybe, this is the opportunity to see really, like, we kind of on the outside of the 4 walls don't necessarily know about how much there obviously is for Hepp, because he keeps playing and he keeps playing hurt. So they obviously want him in the team. It'd be nice to see if the boys can put in that same level of effort and aggression and attack at the ball they put in against the Hawks with the Skipper's 200th.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, Russ?
Yeah, well, Dyson Apple was Parrish was on SEN this morning at breakfast, and they did talk about the big 200th, and he kind of just said, it didn't sound like they were too hyped about it, so I don't think there's much happening down the club. It's just another game for them. He did make some, now we're on the topic of Peppers, I guess, there's a lot of backlash after we sort of spoke about on the pod on Monday when we recorded about his comments after the game. And quite a few people come out and also noticed the fact he was a bit unapologetic about sort of his standards at the training field and smiling a bit too much. And how I didn't think it was a good look. It looks like a lot of people agree with us there. And one thing I think that stands out is, Parrish, again, spoke this morning on Hef saying that they all respect him for his kindness on and off the field. I don't really want to hear that from someone in the team. As someone that's worked in management for a long time, managed a lot of people, I've never got any of my employees to ever do anything by being super kind to them and having them say, I love working for you because you're a super kind person. I've never got what?
Maybe that's your problem.
I've had high performance teams. Kindness. I don't know. That's not a trait that I want to hear from. What's the number one trait from your captain? Oh, he's nice to us.
Yeah, you want him to be hard. Leads by
example.
Yeah,
I'm not going to apologize about smiling on the after a loss. Well, you know what? Take some feedback. And he's like, I'm not going to change for anyone. Well, I wanted you to. Obviously things aren't working. Take some feedback. Anyway, that's my rant on Hebbel. Happy for 200s, but
let's get to the team. If you're still with us 10 minutes in. Big ins, obviously a lot of the illness and stuff that was going around last week. Jake Kelly, Jordan Ridley, Matt Guelphy, Sam Durham all in. The outs, probably exactly what we expected and realistically what we'd anticipated the week before. Braden Ham omitted. Zerk Thatcher injured. Does anyone know what happened there? Was this
he
nice
did
way of saying?
Sorry.
Go, Ross.
I just thought it was a nice way of saying that he's not making the team. I haven't heard much.
Remember in the first minute he tweaked his knee and then he went on.
Yeah, that's right. He fell over him. He fell over himself in the first 10 seconds of the game.
Yeah.
Before he even touched the ball. He legged himself.
I'm guessing it's that.
Oh, okay. I thought you were following on with something there, Lucky.
No, that's all I got.
Devin Smith apparently is out with illness. I have a feeling he was going to be managed with his knees anyway. Kane Baldwin's been omitted. And Alistair Lord, who's been out, was the medical sub. I'm going to say it again. I fucking hate that rule more than anything else. To play your debutants as a medical sub, the bloke doesn't even get on the ground, gets absolutely covered in Gatorade, and now it's back to the twos for like an indefinite period because you got called up hastily in a rush before you. I just think that is just the worst way to debut and to fulfill your childhood dreams of playing AFL to not even get on the park. It's a fucking disgrace. If you've got a debutant playing, name him on the fucking field. You have to. You can't name it. It happened to Wanganeen as well. Granted, he's played a couple of games, and it's a good experience and it's a learning opportunity, but it's shit. It's so shit, and it's such a bad look.
Yeah, he played in the twos the next day because he obviously wasn't too tired from fronting up for his first division duties. And apparently had a pretty ordinary game. And the reports are he's not AFL ready. It really was just a fill the space kind of role.
That's pretty stiff though. You think about your usual routine. Imagine how amped he would have been on the Saturday night, super excited, on edge, all watching the game, getting ready, and then just a massive adrenaline dump. After a huge comeback win like that, and then it's get up on the Sunday and go play footy. Expectations are going to be managed a little bit there. But let's get to the team. Nick Cox as well is also back from injury, as is Phillips. I think they both passed their fitness tests. We've got Laverde, Ridley, Kelly as that full back line with Heppel, Nick Hind, and Mason Redmond along the half back. Andrew McGrath, Zach Merritt, Tom Cutler across the centre line with Shield at half forward. Aaron Francis, who I'm really happy to see he's maintained his spot on the side, playing centre half forward, and Ben Hobbs on the other flank, with Guelphy, Peter Wright, and Nick Martin playing on the full forward line. Sam Draper, Darcy Parish, Jai Caldwell following. And then the bench is Zach Reed, who maintains his spot, Sam Durham, who's come back in, obviously Archie Perkins, and Nick Bryan, who's obviously done enough last week to keep his spot as well. Maybe a bit stiff. Alec Waterman wasn't really doing too much wrong, then gets sick. I think Francis is probably the right call there. Nick Cox has named it as emergency, Kane Baldwin and Braden Ham as an emergency. Any thoughts, boys? We'll start with who you think takes the Medi-sub role out of Waterman, Cox, Baldwin, and Ham.
I would reckon now that Cox is fit to play, I reckon they might play him as the sub.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I've said earlier in the season, it's not a bad role for him to play because he's pretty versatile. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw him last year, the back end of last year when he did lose a bit of form. He played the sub quite a few weeks in the sort of last 6 last games of last year. He was in and out and normally would play the sub role.
Yeah, I think he's my first pick for the sub too, if I look at those guys as well. So I feel for Coxie. Like he is, it's not like he's only not up to standard really because of his confidence. Like if he can get himself, come on, play a half a footy, kick a goal and maybe have 12 or 13 touches and be clean, I think that's all he needs to really get back into some of that good form. He just needs things to go well, but you bumble and you fumble and you miss and the pressure builds and the pressure builds and you know the pressure's building and that makes you stress out and make more mistakes. It's kind of a hard cycle to break. So I hope for his sake, because I think his potential is super high as well. But good to see Nick Bryan kept his spot. And Aaron Francis, your mate Lockie, named at half forward, centre half forward like that.
Yeah. I love that Bryan stays in. When we've talked about Draper maybe not quite being able to run out a full game if he plays ruck solely, and being able to keep Peter Wright deep in the forward 50, I think is super important. Francis, I thought he played great, especially his second half. He really started to get involved. Offers a really strong aerial presence, which I don't think Waterman or Baldwin offer. They're a little bit more lead up at the ball, whereas Francis can really jump at it. And he doesn't get beaten too often. So even if he doesn't mark it, it's not like the opposition is taking an intercept mark.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was a bit... I know everyone's been raving about him last week, but he normally is quite clean in the air, but for me, he dropped so many marks last week. Like, it's not like him. He's normally pretty good in the air, breaking through packs, the intercept marks when he was in the back line. He's had such good hands. Hopefully it was just, me nitpicking on him last week and he caps a couple of extras this week. But I'd like to see him actually hold on to a few more balls this week.
They're pretty big contested marks that he was dropping though. It wasn't like he was like I think the ones he dropped, there was like 2 or 3 others like contesting the ball. It wasn't necessarily.
Oh, they're all contested, don't get me wrong, but
yeah.
He's normally so strong in those packs, coming out of the fence. Maybe it's a confidence thing to just keep his maybe it's a different lead up pattern. They got people actually chopping the arms rather than going for the going for the actual mark, and maybe that's the difference.
I quite like Francis and Peter Wright in that forward line, and I think it might not pay off this week and it might not pay off this year, but getting those guys some time together to work together. One thing Francis did if you watch the Hawthorn replay again, which I'm sure we will with the amount of wins that we're going to have this year, have a look at how much stuff he does off the ball in terms of like offering blocks and stuff for Peter Wright out of the goal square. Like it's those kind of things that like, they're not on the stats sheet. He's not going to get any real mention for them. The commentators are so fixated on Peter Wright that no one's really watching it. But there was, I reckon, at least 4 or 5 times where like he runs back, maybe offers a lead, gets ignored, and rather than doubling the lead back, he runs back in an attempt to block for Peter Wright to come out and take the ball. So that kind of communication with those two, learning to really work off each other, I think could be a really successful partnership. So I'm glad he's kept his side. Nick Bryan, the same. Is Hickey back? Do we know if Hickey's back for the Swans?
Yeah, he's playing this week.
Okay. So that'll be a job. He's a workhorse. He is like Flip for the Swans everywhere he goes. He's played 3 different clubs and never in Victoria or something, right?
No, he played for Saints.
Did he?
Yeah.
Huh. You sure?
Positive.
Do we need to look it up?
You can look it up if you want. I won't do a Lockie and just change my mind halfway through being proven wrong either.
He's an absolute workhorse and he's a jet. So I think Drapes should have him covered, but I think Nick Bryan will be up for a task. So maybe we play a bit of a bring Draper off when Hickey comes off, but he'll go forward. So Drapes is going to need to have his running shoes on and not get caught out. Because to be honest, the first half, like Lynch last week towed Draper up when he went forward alone. And the Hickey will do the same thing. So just some things there to think about. Zach Reid, like we said, keeping his spot. I think he's been showing, he hasn't done anything really yet that's like, that guy's a rising star knob. But I think that's also quite hard to do as a defender as well. But it is good to see him starting to get a couple of games in a row. Hopefully his confidence builds and he can start stringing some stuff together, get a few wins.
And the body he's holding out too.
Yeah, which is good to see. Anything else in that lineups that surprised you? You're not sure? Do you think it's a little bit of magnets there with Shield on the half forward line, or do you think that's going to be legit? Put a guy who hasn't kicked a goal all year at half forward.
Well, Buckley actually talked about this last week. I think he brought it up when someone was on one of his talkback shows, was talking about how, the magnets are all over the place when it comes to the sheets. And he made a good point. Like when we look at, if you ever watch soccer or anything like that, you look at the 4-4-2 sort of patterns or 4-4-3s or 5-3-2-1s and the different kind of patterns you might play in. We don't have that we just have these straight lines, like six of followers. And he said, like, sometimes you just, that's not the way you're going to set out on the field. You might have an extra defender on the field, or you might have an extra midfielder. So most of the time you just throw them up there that they're kind of in the right place, and that's all you care about when you release it.
The 6-6-6 rule, though, like you have to line up in the lines of three initially.
Yeah, but his point was, you'll never line up when you're setting your field out at the start of the game. Yes, everyone's in their 6-6-6, but they'll then change their positioning on the field depending on their game plan. And if you were to look at their actual playing positions on the magnets, it wouldn't be just straight lines. So that's why he's like, don't read too much into, someone being on the half forward line because he might be playing more wing or something like that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it's just the layout that with the stock layout that they've chosen to release is one way. Yeah, no one would ever play that way.
Easy. Any other thoughts, boys? Where I'm just being a little bit conscious of time and getting cut off. Anything else that we've got on
for this week?
On the list? The VFLW team keep charging through full time against Darebin Falcons 64-7. So the hot streak continues. That one draw, that one perfect blemish, it's like that loss to the Bulldogs in 2000 in round 22. So,
yep.
Annoying there. But look, I'm looking forward to seeing some finals football. And if that's the only grand final that we get to see this year for the Bombers, then at least it'll be nice to get down there and maybe take a microphone and see if we can get a few interviews.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Getting through it. Let's get on to the footy tips. Old mate Russ has had another stinker. Went the safe bet with the Swans to beat Gold Coast. So this week we'll be putting another $20 into the tin, which will go to the CCs at the end of the year. Lockie, you had, remind me.
I'm not 100% sure.
We're going to start writing these down. I had Carlton to beat Adelaide, which they did incredibly easily. You see Harry Mackay's done his knee. He's out for 6 weeks. I think he misses the game in our 150th.
Who?
Yeah.
Harry Mackay.
Yeah, have a shit one.
So I think Laverde's breathing a sigh of relief there. And Stewart apparently is just a test away from potentially being back in the side as well. So
yeah, well, touching on injuries, we've got a big for after the bye. We've got Snell, Stringer, and Langford all due back.
And it's Carlton. That's Carlton game, isn't it? Our game after the bye.
Yeah.
Our big 150th celebration.
Yep.
Lucky.
I actually think if Reid doesn't put a foot wrong, I don't think Stewart gets back in the side.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That is a big call. That's a big call. Do you think Laverde can play on Dixon?
I don't think Stewart can.
No. Dixon would monster either of them.
Do you think Stewart and Laverde, though, are a better potential tag team combination on him than a Reid and a Laverde?
I reckon Redmond needs to just give Dixon a little bit of an ankle tap, and hopefully the big man falls over and tweaks his ankle again.
Big man, fall hard. So looking at the tips, there's been a little bit of movement going on. There I am in 5th place, sitting at 47, one behind my wife. Russell's moved up to 8. He's come from a long way back, sitting 1 tip behind me. Because you tipped, I think we were even going into.
Yeah, that at the Adelaide game, I went for a sneaky I went for a sleeper at the end.
That was ridiculous. And Lockie, where are we? Back down to 13th, mate. What happened?
I'm gaining. I just haven't been able to get places.
Okay. All right. And big shout out to Matty Hall, who actually tipped Essendon to beat Hawthorn. So he's moved himself up into 17th place. Good job, Matty. Brody Harrison still atop the leaderboard, sitting there on 53. So as we look forward into round 9, boys, tell me who you've got as your lock in.
Well, can you tell me which ones I'm allowed this week? Because it was 5 last week. I weren't allowed to pick. I've actually got GWS to beat Carlton this week.
Oh, that is a huge call, and that is something that I've been contemplating all afternoon. Actually,
not Jeremy Cameron. Their
Leon
coach, quit today. Last game. We always know what happens for the manager's last game.
They're heavy. Well, not heavy favorites, but they are favorites. Oh,
go Benny.
Sorry, mate. I was just saying GWS are not heavy favorites, but they are favorites going into.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they would have still been underdogs.
Carlton got quite a few outs.
Yeah. Okay.
Lucky.
That was going to be my lock of the week, and I'm surprised that you picked it, Russ.
Yeah. Well, I'm not allowed to pick any other ones, and on the short list.
Lucky, who's gonna win, Magpies or Bulldogs?
I'm actually leaning towards the Pies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I took Pies.
But I won't put them as my lock. I'm going to go Tigers.
Bontempelli and Keith back into the Bulldogs. Tigers to beat the Hawks.
Yeah.
Doesn't leave me with much here, boys. A lot of short favorites. Oh, maybe I'll go Melbourne to beat West Coast.
Not allowed.
I'll give it the old Russell treatment. Fremantle aren't paying that much. Freo to beat Gold Coast for me at Metricon Stadium.
Sounds like another Russell bet to me.
They're paying $1.58, which is above the threshold.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, cool. All right, lads. Any final thoughts? Any final comments?
Yeah, I think I'm all right.
See you Saturday.
Hopefully.
Lockie, see you Saturday.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Beautiful. And if you've listened to this all the way through, we will, of course, live stream from here as well. So there was quite a bit of excitement. When the games get close and the CCs are flowing, there's quite a lot of animation on the couch for the games. So another Saturday night game, maybe we'll have to have a couple of CCs, Lock.
More than a couple, I think, this weekend.
Do you think you drink heavily or heavier when we're winning or losing?
Losing.
Fantastic. All right, boys. Thanks for the chat and see you guys on Saturday. Until then, go Bombers.
Go Bombers.